Before we begin, feel free to go ahead and hit the subscribe button.
Hello, Tarik Rever here. How's it going? I'm so happy today. It's a good treat. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out recently, and the family, we all went out to see it. It's pretty cool, man. Because most of the time, like, I'm not sure if you know, like, some of you know already that I'm disabled, at least for the time being for a while. You know, we're working on making progress. It's a long road, you know, but I'm thankful with the progress I have made. But I'm still currently in a wheelchair when I'm not at home. It's just too hard to move about. I have a walker for like short distances at home, like just like, you know, here and there, like, you know, to like the next room or something, you know. But for the most part, in a wheelchair outside of home. So yeah, so getting out the house is tough. Plus, like, you know, it's hard to breathe a lot of times because myasthenia gravis. That's why like my illness is myasthenia gravis. That's why a lot of times my videos are only like maybe 10 minutes at the most, 5 to 10 minutes, because I have to turn the sound off. So any like moving air, like I always have fans around me, I turn the fans off, and so it gets really quiet so I can speak, and I speak over things, but it also means the air isn't moving that much, so I'm always cutting my time down like dramatically, you know. But that's why it was such a great thing to go with the family to the movie theater, in the seats and everything. Well, I was in my wheelchairs watching it, but next to them in their seats, you know. It was really cool just to be in a theater, you know. So my wife really made me feel at home in a theater, and she went through a lot of trouble to make it happen. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Bubby. And it was for her mother's birthday. So happy birthday, Deborah. So we're all there for you. Little Sadie, Liz, and I, like everybody, we were there for you. So that was really cool. It was a good treat. So okay. This is basically like a review slash like review spoiler. The end of this video would be like the spoiler part, and I'll like let you know ahead of time in case you haven't seen it what the spoil part is. but it was really cool. Okay, here we go. So I've been following you know, Guardians ever since the first one came out, you know, and looking more into it, and like the backstory and how it converts to like the movies. And so they basically took main premises to certain characters, like the newer characters, and kind of like just stretched a little bit more and made it fit more for the cinema, which really cool. They didn't go too far off the direction at all, so that was really nice. The main thing I want to stress that it was cool because they focused a lot more on Star-Lord and his past, and how he came to be, so much about, and Rocket. Yondu, holy shit, Yondu was awesome. Yondu was fucking awesome in this. I mean, he was awesome in the first one, but they really like showed how he can really be amazing, you know. And a lot of characters. Drax was hilarious. I just can't stress how funny Drax was, man. I mean, and a lot of pro wrestlers going professional from wrestling to the movies. There, of course, like The Rock, there are exceptions, but in terms of acting ability, most of the time they're not, you know, really known for that. You know, it's like, you know, more just like for like an extension of their wrestler persona. But Drax, I'm sorry, Batista playing Drax was amazing. Of course, shout out to The Rock. The Rock, you're awesome. Everybody knows that. That's like written in stone or something, you know. But so it's good to see, in addition to The Rock, that another wrestler can come out there and add something really special to movies. And so Batista kicked ass, man. Like his acting ability and physical prowess was always great in the first one, but in the second one, his physical prowess was just like amazing. Like, 'cause you know he's strong, but they didn't show that much. But in this one, they really showed, like, you know, he can go to distance, and a lot of Gamora showed more her strength, physical strength. Nebula, way more depth in Nebula, which I really appreciated, because like, you're like curious about how she came to be. So pretty much all the characters really showed like how they came to be in the movie. So in that universe. And speaking of universe, So they expanded greatly on certain key points, and I can't say it every other part of this video, but they stress very strong key points, and I think the main thing is that they didn't want to jump from the first one to the third movie, because I believe the third Guardians is definitely gonna be three, and in terms of how the Infinity Wars and Guardians plays out, it looks like 1 and 2 are definitely like establishing certain things. The first one, you're just trying to figure out what's going on. The second one, you understand way more about the character. So now, like after part 2, anything that any of the characters do is intensified, because you already know who they are, so they can just move in full speed now. So the second one, the pace isn't as fast as the first one, but I'm glad, because I wanted to understand more. I wanted to digest who they are. I'm sorry. And I really appreciate it. And then the comedy in this, oh my god, the comedy was just like beyond beautiful, you know, because there was key points where you think, oh yeah, you know, they already talked about that, you know, but then like when you realize what is happening, they're planting seeds for something else to happen later on, and it was really cool to see certain parts happen. Not only did the comedy get elevated, but I think the aesthetic, the universe, just like their clothing and fashion, a lot of detail. There's so much detail. Also, how it looked. Like, I mean, the first one, everyone knows Guardians is one of the most beautiful, well, not just MCU movies, but just movies in general, especially for sci-fi. And then the second one, they took that to like beyond limits. Like, oh my god, the colors, the clarity, the atmosphere, the detail. It was like almost like I wouldn't call it the Avatar, because Avatar is like so vibrant. It's like almost like too vibrant. I mean, I love it, but it's like almost like a watercolor Avatar. This is more balanced, but it's insanely vibrant at the same time. So I think that was a cool combination, you know. And then when the parts had to be dark, you can still see detail. Because a lot of movies get dark and it just disappears. I film short movies at certain times, and direct and stuff, or directed plays, things like that. And so lighting, I know, is a big factor in trying to create certain nuances within the characters and atmosphere, and also the landscapes and the backgrounds are also an additional character, especially in this one, like literally, you know. So I think that was a really big thing, that they really pushed the backgrounds, how the backgrounds come to life, and they had its own story within the movie, you know. Okay, here we go with spoilers. So I'm assuming most people watch this anyways, that they've seen it already. So I think that Kurt Russell's character, I thought he did a really good job, and he played exactly how I wanted him to be. I mean, I wanted Kurt Russell to be Kurt Russell, and I think that's why he's cast, because he's a really good way to kind of jump off between Star-Lord, because they're in some ways are similar, and definitely different. Star-Lord definitely has much more of a heart, dramatically more. I think got it from his mother, and literally the moment where Kurt Russell's character Ego says he gave his mom a tumor, so neither Star-Lord or Ego would feel attached to that world, and wouldn't want to have to keep coming back. That was a drastic thing. He didn't have to kill his mom to do that. He'd just not come back, you know what I'm saying? So that was messed up. And then you suspected right away that Yondu had a reason to not deliver him to his father, because Yondu, even though he has his past, he's not a horrible person by any means. You know, he's made mistakes, but you know, it's like understandable mistakes. The environment kind of did certain things to him, and he, you know, like you discover he was brought into like a slave type universe when he was like a child. You know, like, you know, he was kind of bought and sold, and then like he got caught into this whole thief, kind of like the guild of thieves, you know, so to speak. That kind of like just pushed it further, so he's got stuck, you know. And when Star-Lord came about, seeing how the fact that he wasn't just treated better than the others for no reason. It was because, for a couple of reasons, he knew that Star-Lord was like half whatever that was, you know, and that he, you know, he wanted to make sure that he survived and have whatever Ego is, you know, which is kind of up to debate. Like, I mean, technically, Ego, the living planet, there's that, but I don't think he is how he portrayed himself in the movie. I think they kind of exaggerated a bit, uh, like celestial type thing, you know. But he's definitely important, you know. He has a lot of power, but not, I don't think to the point to where he could destroy the entire universe, like in a movie or something, you know. Like, there's definitely stretched that, but I understand because it's like you don't have 6 movies to explain what's going on. You want to make cut and dry to a certain extent, you know, in certain movies because they had to like get into Infinity Wars, and that's when you want to probably like put more layers into it. So I understand that, but yes, for Star-Lord, you understand more about how he Yondu's relationship really was, and you kind of like felt that Yondu was always kind of kidding with them. You know, he really wouldn't turn him in or kill him or eat him. He's like, oh, I was just playing with you. I was having fun, you know. It's like it just he's just being silly, you know. So he always kind of knew that, but he actually said it. That was cool. And so the Gamora with the part where she had the gun that shoot 4 rotating Gatlins at a time, I was like, that's awesome. Her and Nebula finally came to terms with certain things. I had no idea that Nebula had those upgrades because she failed at fighting Gamora every time, and Thanos would keep trying to upgrade physically Nebula so she can like be equal to Gamora, and every time she would lose, he just keeps adding more, you know. So I was like, so that made more sense why she had resentment, because she's like, just give up at least one of these times, so I had to like be partly where it was originally, you know. But you know, they're both trying to survive. It was a bad situation. They made the best of the situation they had, you know, so you can't really be mad at one of them. But now you understand why Nebula had that resentment. So that's cool that they came to terms. That was really cool. And so the part that just hurt me so much was seeing Groot treated like that whenever he was real little, you know, throwing like beer and wine, whatever, over him, and just like making fun of him like that, you know. And he was like, he's basically a baby, you know. And so you definitely wanted him to get back at him, and he did get his revenge in a sense, you know. But this was my thing about Groot, okay, and I'm kind of selfish about this, and I apologize, but I want Baby Groot to stay a baby size-wise, but mentally get older in time, and then be able to get larger or smaller depending if he wanted to. But so that was like basically having the first Groot in the first Guardians, and then having the baby version in the second one, be able to go back and forth, you know. But that's asking a lot, you know. So he's got to grow up at some point. So whenever they show later on him growing up, I was like, no, oh my god, you know. I got so used to him being a baby, you know. But I mean, it was still cool. He can't stay a baby forever, so I guess, you know. But yeah, so my really quick, so comedy highlights, mostly Drax. Whenever Drax didn't want to wear the vest because it chafes his nipples, and he has sensitive skin on his nipples. You're like, really, man? You can like, I mean, look at you're hardcore, you know. But that was funny. And then finally, when Rocket straps it on him and shoots him in the space, and he's like, no, because my nipples gonna hurt, you know. He was saying, and he's like screaming because his nipples. I was like, that was hilarious. You know, he had like the craziest moments ever, man. Oh my god, but Drax will talk shit about people, and you still can't be mad at him because this is how his brain chemistry works, you know. And he doesn't really mean to upset people, but he does insult them, you know. That was crazy though. Oh my god, and how he was there with Mantis, and then Mantis just divulges all this information about everybody. And then like he's like, do me, what am I feeling, you know? And she's just like, you're just laughing at everybody. So she started laughing with them at everybody, you know. And that was pretty funny. But I think the part that was really touching, of course, there were a lot of touching moments, but all the Yondu part at the end was touching, and how the whole like everyone realized that he was really honorable, and he was just keeping it secret. He didn't want Peter to know, Star-Lord to know what was going on, because he was probably afraid who would try to go to his father, then he would like fall under his trap, and he was trying to keep him away from that all this time, you know. He had to, you know, lie and say what he had to do to keep him alive, you know. So he sacrificed a lot, and he was kicked out and ostracized of society because of what he did, and he still did it knowing what they would do. in order to keep Star-Lord alive, you know, and safe. So he did have a lot of honor, you know. So I was like, I was so sad to see him die. And I was like, well, maybe he'll come back somehow. And like he was like incinerated, like in the fires. I'm like, you're not coming back, okay? You know. So I was like, damn, you know. But after that, it's like, how could you not just feel for Yandi's character? That was just incredible, you know. The part at the end, also, whenever what you call it, Groot's like really like a baby at that point, you know, and everyone's like kind of taking turns like holding him and stuff, and then they go to the actual funeral for Yondu, and he's like, he says, "I'm Groot," and Rocket's like, "Oh, so he did call you a twig. He called you a twig, you know." So it was like his little thing, his nickname for Groot. You're like, oh shit, man. Oh my god, the feels in this movie is crazy, you know. But ultimately, I think it was much more personal than the first one. The first one, I think, it felt bigger, even though the second one had like whatever it was. I can't place the name for a second. Aisha's character and all the golden people that you know, that she basically was, you know, well, not totally control it, but she had like a majority share, so to speak, in terms of that culture, you know. But how they were their main like villains, but then really it was really ego. So really it didn't feel that big as the first one did. How the first one, Ronan's character against Nova Corps, that felt much bigger. But it's cool because the second one was supposed to be personal. So ultimately, I would say the second one isn't better than the first one, because how can you be better than the first one when it's like the first time you've seen it? So it's hard to recapture that feeling, you know. However, I think it's better than the first one on another level, in terms of it being so personal, you know, and understanding the character. So in a way, I think they both fulfill what they're supposed to do. So in that sense, they're even. In that sense, you know, they fulfill what they're supposed to do. Now, from this point on, I think that it's like, you know, no holds barred. You know, it's going to be like this, whatever you want, because, you know, you got Adam Warlock coming out. You got, like, you know, some heavy hitters. Thanos is, like, you know, around the corner now. So you got Thanos around the corner. You got Adam Warlock and Infinity War's happening. You know, it's like, oh my god, now you're talking. So I think after this second Guardians movie, every other movie in MCU, like including Black Panther, is going to be like amazing. And now everything's like this momentum. Everything's set. The Avengers had went through this trials and tribulations of making room for certain things, you know, to expand. So I think that now is when you really see a turning point. So ultimately, I think it was a great movie. I think the only thing I could have wished and is Yondu to live. That's the part that Yondu to live, and I wanted Baby Groot to have more revenge on how he was treated. More revenge, yeah. But I don't know, it was cool. All right, thanks for checking this out, and check out my other videos if you have some time. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe. All right, thanks.